Hey everyone, welcome back to WorthCoin, your go-to place for coin values, rare finds, and the stories behind them. Today, we're diving into the top 4 most valuable Washington quarters, uncovering their history, rarity, and market value. Some of these could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. First up, the Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932, when it was first introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design was created by John Flanagan, featuring a left-facing portrait of Washington on the obverse side. This design remained mostly unchanged for decades, including the 1996 version. The obverse shows Washington's bust, along with the words "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1996. The reverse side features an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, a strong symbol of peace through strength. The mint mark D indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1996, the Denver Mint produced over 906 million Washington quarters. That's a very high mintage number. Because of this, the 1996 D quarter is considered common in circulation. You've probably handled one of these coins without realizing it. Since so many were made and widely used in everyday transactions, most examples you find today will be well worn or circulated. These are generally worth face value, just 25 cents. However, if you happen to find a 1996 D quarter in uncirculated condition, the value can be slightly higher. A quarter that is still in mint state, with no signs of wear and sharp details, can be worth between $1 and $5 to collectors. If it's graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC and receives a high mint state grade, such as MS65 or higher, the value can go up to around $10 to $25. In rare cases, coins with exceptional strike quality, full details, or special eye appeal have sold for even more at auction. The record auction price for a 1996 D Washington quarter in mint state 67 condition was around $450. There are no major known errors or varieties for the standard 1996 D Washington quarter, but collectors always watch for minor die cracks, off-center strikes, and double dies. These kinds of mint errors can increase the coin's value significantly, depending on how dramatic or noticeable the flaw is. If you find a 1996 D quarter with any unusual features, it's worth getting it checked by a coin expert or grading service. It's also worth mentioning that 1996 was the final year before the U.S. Mint launched the popular 50-state quarters program in 1999. That makes the 1996 issues some of the last of the classic Eagleback Washington quarters, which ran from 1932 to 1998. This adds a little extra historical interest for collectors who like to complete full sets of the original design. In summary, the 1996 D Washington quarter is a modern coin with high mintage and common availability, meaning most examples are only worth face value. But if you have a coin in brilliant uncirculated condition, especially one graded MS65 or higher, it could be worth a few dollars or more. While not rare, it still plays an important part in the long-running history of the Washington Quarter series, marking the end of an era before the more collectible state quarters took over. Next up, the 1984 D Washington Quarter is part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932. The design on the front, or obverse, features a left-facing portrait of George Washington. This classic image was created by sculptor John Flanagan and remained largely unchanged for decades. Around the portrait, you'll see the words "Liberty" at the top, "In God We Trust" on the left side, and the year 1984 at the bottom. Just to the right of the ribbon in Washington's hair, you'll find the D Mint mark, which tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Now, here's where things get interesting. In 1984, the Denver Mint produced over 546 million Washington quarters. That's more than 500 million coins, so the 1984 D quarter is considered very common. Because of its high mintage and wide circulation, most 1984 D quarters that you find in pocket change or coin jars will be heavily worn and are worth just face value, 25 cents. But, as always with coins, condition is everything. If you happen to find a 1984 D quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear and still has its original mint luster, it can be worth more than face value. A coin in mint state, such as MS-60 to MS-64, might sell for about $1 to $3. Coins graded MS-65 and above, with sharp details and clean surfaces, can go for $10 to $25, depending on the market and collector interest. The highest known grade for this coin is MS-67, and examples in that condition have sold at auction for around $300 or more. So, while it's not rare, there's still some collector value if you have a high-quality example. Another thing to keep an eye out for is mint errors. The 1984 D quarter is known to have a few error types that attract collectors, including off-center strikes, die cracks, and occasionally clashed dies. One of the most interesting finds is a double die obverse, where the lettering and details may appear slightly doubled. These errors are not super common, but if you spot one, the value can increase significantly, sometimes from a few dollars to over $100, depending on the error and its visibility. The metal composition is also important. Like all standard quarters minted between 1965 and 1998, the 1984 D quarter is made from a clad composition. That's a copper-nickel outer layer over a pure copper core. It does not contain any silver, so it doesn't carry intrinsic metal value. However, it still holds historical significance as part of the original Washington quarter design before the state quarters began in 1999. Next up, the Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932, originally designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The obverse, or front side, of the coin features a portrait of Washington facing left, designed by John Flanagan. The words Liberty appear above his head, with In God We Trust to the left, and the date, 1980, right at the bottom. Just beside the ribbon in Washington's hair, you'll see a small letter D, and that's the mint mark indicating the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. In 1980, the Denver Mint struck a massive number of Washington quarters, over 635 million coins to be exact. That's a huge montage, which means the 1980 D quarter is considered a common coin in the world of numismatics. Most of these coins were released into everyday circulation, so it's not rare to find one in your pocket, in rolls, or inside a coin jar. Because of the high mintage, most 1980 D quarters in circulated condition, meaning coins that have been used and show signs of wear, are worth only their face value, which is 25 cents. But as always, condition plays a major role in coin collecting. If you find a 1980 D quarter that has never been used, one that still has full mint luster, no scratches, and clean surfaces, it could be considered uncirculated or mint state. In the mint state grades, like MS-60 to MS-64, the value typically ranges from $1 to $3. But if the coin is especially well struck and receives a grade of MS-65 or higher, it becomes more desirable to collectors. At MS-65, a 1980 D quarter might be worth $10 to $15. In top grades like MS-66 or MS-67, it can bring in $50, $100, or even more, especially if it's certified by a grading service like PCGS or NGC. The highest graded examples of the 1980D quarter have sold at auction for upwards of $400 to $600, but those are rare cases in nearly perfect condition. Now, as for errors or varieties, the 1980D Washington quarter does not have any famous major errors like a doubled die or over-mint mark known to the public. But that doesn't mean you can't find something interesting. Always check for minor mint errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, or planche flaws. These small issues can still raise the coin's value, depending on how dramatic and visible the error is. A well-defined off-center strike or die break on a 1980D quarter could be worth $10 to $50 or more, depending on the severity and collector demand. Next up, let's begin with a bit of background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design, by sculptor John Flanagan, became one of the most iconic and long-lasting designs in U.S. coin history. The obverse of the coin, the front, features a left-facing bust of George Washington, with the word Liberty above, In God We Trust to the left, and the date below. The reverse shows a bold eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches underneath, symbolizing strength and peace. The 1978 quarter was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark just behind Washington's ponytail, it was minted in Philadelphia. If there's a small D, it was made in Denver. And if it has an S, it came from San Francisco, though most of those were proof coins made for collectors. In total, hundreds of millions of quarters were produced in 1978. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 521 million, while the Denver Mint made over 287 million. That means the 1978 quarter is not rare in terms of mintage. It was produced in large quantities for everyday circulation, and most of these coins saw heavy use over the years. Now, let's talk about value, especially for a fine condition coin. Fine is a specific coin grading term. It means the coin is worn, but all major design elements are visible. You can still clearly see Washington's features, the eagle's outline, and the key lettering, but details are smoothed out due to circulation wear. In that condition, a 1978 quarter is typically worth face value, 25 cents. It's considered a common coin, and because it contains no silver, it doesn't carry any extra melt value either. However, if you find a 1978 quarter in uncirculated or mint state condition, that's a different story. A coin with no wear, full mint luster, and strong strike could be worth between $2 and $10, depending on the grade. The highest known grade for a 1978 Washington quarter is MS-67, and those examples can fetch up to $300 to $500 at auction if certified by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC. What about errors? While the 1978 quarter doesn't have any major known varieties or famous errors, there are always possibilities of minor mistakes like off-center strikes, die cracks, or doubled dies. If you find one with unusual features, like lettering that looks doubled or a misaligned design, it could be worth $20 to several $100s, depending on how dramatic and rare the error is.